Supplying stores nationwide. For quality products, trust Shiklisha Limited, 665-3336.
Show me right from wrong. Give me light, make me strong. I know the road is long. Make me strong.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Respected brothers and respected sisters in Islam, respected brothers and sisters in humanity. Thank you again for looking at IBN TV8, Challenges of the Muslim Ummah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. And to my non-Muslim viewers who I know are so many now, I thank you sincerely for always choosing IBN TV8 and looking at this particular program, inshallah. Today, the proposal is to deal with the Qurbani experience in Venezuela. Of course, a number of persons in Trinidad and Tobago would have chosen, because of the conditions of Venezuela, to have their Qurbani done in Venezuela and to have their meat distributed to the poor and the needy and the likes in Venezuela. Alhamdulillah, I feel very honored that for the third consecutive year, the country has had that confidence in me that I can go across to Venezuela and try to do justice to this particular very high and noble call. Today, inshallah, I propose to show you some of the videos and clippings and so on associated with the experience. As I mentioned in my last program, it should never come across as though the intention of my showing this is to bring any kind of self-praise or anything like that. It is simply just trying to be accountable to you, the people. You all would have given me a mandate. Would have, in my opinion, would have fulfilled that mandate, and I have a duty to report back to you, alhamdulillah. We here at the IBN has been very consistent in terms of trying to reach out to the poor and needy wherever they are in the world. We call on you, the viewing public, to assist. And whatever we do here at the IBN, of course, our representation is representing you. So, alhamdulillah, we would have gone to Venezuela, and the amount of issues that happened in Venezuela from before we went, when we reached, and after, there's too much to give an account for. So, I will just try to stick as far as practical to the program itself. I wouldn't talk about the earthquake and all that happened with the earthquake and so on. And I wouldn't try to go into the fact that we had to go on a speedboat rather than the plane because we would have gotten kicked off of the flights. A number of things happened that maybe these things can take programs by themselves. So alhamdulillah, we would have gone to Venezuela 2 weeks before just to confirm that all the things that we were putting in place via phone and via our contacts in Venezuela. We went 2 weeks before. Myself and my brother, who would have gone with me last year, Brother Abdullah, would have gone 2 weeks before just to make sure we meet with all the organizations personally. We put in writing that we are coming, and we put in writing that what we are going to do and so on. We cleared all the necessary channels and so on to make sure we have a smooth and transparent arrangement. And alhamdulillah, we came back to Trinidad and went back Saturday when Eid was in fact Wednesday. So we had a few days, about 4 days before Eid, 4 or 5 days before Eid, to go back to the institutions, go back to the farm, make sure the animals are in place, make sure the abattoir is in everything is in place, make sure they confirm that we are not just talking, we are here to execute the promise and so on. All the different institutions we would have met with, we went back to them. We had enough days prior to Eid. And Alhamdulillah, now I will give an account as to how everything transpired. Again, I pray to Allah with full sincerity that He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, would accept from all of you who would have contributed to this Qurbani in Venezuela. I thank Allah for my good friend Abdullah, who would have been there with me throughout the trip last year and this year. And I remember my friend the year before, Joel Basde, who would have gone with me in 2016. Of course, Joel Basde would have passed away. Abdullah and myself, we have been continuing last year and this year, inshallah. So today we could show the first video now, inshallah. The first clipping now, the first photo now, I should say. So we can start today's program, inshallah. So of course, this is a nice background. We would have done up showing the Trinidad and Tobago flag and the Venezuela flag, the IBN logo, and so on, and trying to give an appreciation as to what we are going to do in Venezuela. We did two, one in English and one in Spanish, because we use our Spanish counterparts to help us to put it in Spanish also. And it is from Trinidad and Tobago with love that we have done this Qurbani in Venezuela. And of course, it was well received. It was a beautiful backdrop. Persons would have accepted it and so on. Persons take photos and so on with it. Trinidad and Tobago flag, Venezuela flag, IBN studio, what we are doing, English and Spanish, inshallah. Show us the Spanish again, inshallah. So we have both there, inshallah. So you see, we have both flags, and it was well received. So inshallah, that was the start of today's program. Basically, we would have gone to Venezuela with the intention of having that Qurbani there, and we would have, in fact, had this as a nice little backdrop, inshallah. So we continue with the actual photos. This is Eid Day. And of course, after the Eid Salah, this picture was taken. Of course, the build-up of the security arrangements and so on, receiving us and staying with us 24 hours and so on, always very important in Venezuela. In Venezuela, once I go, I make it my business to ensure that there's security, because, of course, the amount of people who I need, once you come across as that person who are there to bring that relief to them, everybody wants to reach at you first. So these are some of the security guards that have been assigned to me for that particular day. And we have in the photo to the extreme right a doctor who would have been one of my main persons on the ground, Dr. Dohanel Prieto. He would have been one of those who would have assisted a great deal. I'll talk about him more as the program goes on, inshallah. Yes, today if we can show the other photos, inshallah. Of course, this is after Eid morning. Likewise, you see the persons in the picture there from Venezuela. Trinidad and Tobago flag in the back, Venezuela flag in front. Of course, I told them I have a problem how the Venezuela flag so big and Trinidad flag so small, and how they put us down in the back. But they took all this photo. And so on, and I just included. Right? This is just after the Eid prayer in Venezuela, inshallah. Yes, studio. Next photo, inshallah. So we are in the abattoir there. In the abattoir, of course, we slaughtered the animals, inshallah. Myself and Abdullah was there. We did the actual slaughter and so on. And of course, what you see behind in the photos there, basically, I am speaking to the guy who owns the farm, actually, who we bought the animals from. And we just having a chit chat as to how we plan on the day, how things will be done and so on, inshallah. Next photo. Of course, every 2 rack is one animal. Every 2 rack is one animal. So half in front and half directly behind it. And same thing again. So every 2 rack you see is actually one animal. And of course, how it works is that you pay only after you weigh. So after you do the slaughtering and so on, they don't sell the animals like in Trinidad here live weight. They want to sell the animals actually by the kilos and so on. And this is after this whole process is done, and the health inspector comes and cut all the meat and take a sample and test and stamp it and so on. The animal actually have a physical stamp on it. Stamp it saying it is certified as healthy. Only then it can move, inshallah. Next photo, studio. Of course, this photo is the Venezuelan citizens actually assisting in cutting up the meat and putting the meat in plastic bags and so on. I publicly thank Sheikh Lisha, who would have sponsored thousands of bags for me to carry to Venezuela. Never know plastic bag could have been so heavy. But of course, the plastic bags came in very, very handy. The citizens of Venezuela there, they are cutting up the meat and fine pieces and put them in the plastic bags, inshallah. Of course, you see all the trays on the ground and so on with the actual bulk of meat, and they were cutting up, and they were very, very, very much. Labor was no problem. Let's put it in simple. Labor in Venezuela, no problem, because all these persons who are actually in the front line, of course, they know that their access to is a much bigger access than those who are in long lines waiting. Of course, they were very happy to assist in terms of all this labor and so on. And again, I don't know how to publicly thank them because they are in Venezuela now. But this was a really, really, really nice experience. Yes, studio. Of course, you see a rope there under the tent. This is the same place, same guys cutting up the meat. But it's a distance shot because you see around the tent, there's rope and so on. Security, of course, it's for security reasons. And the police and so on, not in the photo actually, but they are there to make sure that the crowd control. The crowd has to wait. You see the rope is inside there. The crowd is waiting while the meat is cut up and so on, and parceled off and so on. So you find that that rope is important, very, very important. And again, a lot of people came out, and you'll see some aerial shots and so on eventually. The Trinidad and Tobago flag in hand, and of course, your Qurbani in Venezuela. That you are seeing there, it may be a little complex in terms of the photo, but it's actually a van where we actually had to put the meat in cold storage, because after we finished the Qurbani the first day, we couldn't share any meat at all. So we had to get a vehicle, of course, hire a vehicle to keep the meat cold storage, basically, to ensure that by next day, when time for distribution, the meat will still be fresh. You know, for sanitary purposes and so on, you must keep the meat in cold storage. So I am actually there outside of the vehicle, and the crowd is there, right? And we were actually bringing the meat out of the cold storage into the tent, cutting up the meat, and persons were there basically to receive in small parcels. Of course, they have their own system. Venezuela have their own system. They are accustomed to crowd control. So they had house to house given a number and so on, and only persons who have a number representing a house could have been given meat and so on. There was no duplication and so on. Very, very, very good system. This is actually Trinidad and Tobago flag and the Venezuela flag up in the air. Persons are still, the flags are in the back, of course, but no meat has started distributing as yet. And these photos were sent to me by persons in Venezuela, so I didn't take those photos for myself. They actually enjoyed that. Of course, this photo, I might be jumping the gun a little bit, but the organizations that received the meat in priority, I chose to give the meat in priority to the major institutions like hospitals, health centers, home for the aged, persons who have cerebral palsy, persons who are different, to that nature. I went to all of them, not all of them, some of them, and I encouraged them to not only receive the meat, I inspected the facilities, I make sure they have cold storage. This picture was the actual delivery in the hospital, and the pictures are really a night photo because we slaughtered the animals whole day, and of course the delivery of the meat and so on was in the night. They actually had to call for the persons to open the refrigerator and so on to put the meat in the cold storage. Of course, there's another photo back at the abattoir where the doctor there, who is in the middle with the Venezuela flag, he has been very, very instrumental with me getting in contact with all the hospitals and health centers and so on. He actually was able to bring them to me rather than I have to go to all of them, which was very, very much a big ease because Venezuela is so big. If you have to go to all these hospitals and so on, you'll be spending hours upon hours upon hours traveling or driving from one spot to another spot. He also drove me around, inshallah, and it was very, very good. Here we have, in this picture, a woman who is the head of the prison in Venezuela. That guy who you saw there in the picture previously, he's actually a doctor and a dentist, both in one. And he do work in all the different places. And this woman you are seeing here, of course, as I said, she's the head of the prison. So we also have big contacts now in Venezuela with the prison. Nothing to celebrate about, but of course, they too would have been present and they too would have received part of the Qurbani, inshallah. Studio. Next photo, inshallah. Of course, we had given the Qurbani to many of what you call feeding houses, charitable organizations who were accustomed to feeding hundreds and hundreds of people. They receive donations and so on from all over the world, and they would do some. They already have their own soup kitchen. They have their bowls, their plates, the people come and they feed them regularly and so on. We would have given the Qurbani to some of the soup kitchens. The same guy in the background there, he's supervising all the different distribution, and he's the one who would have sent the photos of the actual preparation of the meat and so on. So we would have given, this picture is, the pictures you're going to see now are pictures of persons who represent the hospitals. So this woman you're seeing here, she's representing the maternity hospital in Venezuela, and she would have come like many others who you will see in photos subsequent. They would have come and they would have in the abattoir, so therefore I did not have to drop the meat to all of them. A number of them would have come in the abattoir and they would have brought their own transport to carry the meat off, inshallah. So this person, again, I mentioned, she is the head of the prison, actually. And the woman before was the head of the maternity hospital in Venezuela. This is a delivery of meat, actually. And again, it was definitely a really good experience, inshallah. And I pray to Allah that all those who are looking on now, you would see where your Qurbani would have reached to so many people in Venezuela and such important institutions. And studio, you know, we would have had, why the hospitals? You know, we send the hospitals and health centers and a number of places. This here, this photo is important. This is actually a 56-seater bus. Those very large bus. They actually sent this bus to collect their meat, the hospital. And they put the meat on the actual seat, the fabric of this meat was like gold for them. This meat, your Qurbani for the hospital, was like gold. They actually brought no plastic, no bowl, no utensils. They sent a bus, and the bus saw it as the meat being more important than the fabric on the seat. And I mean, of course, I just felt it was, they appreciated this meat so much in the hospitals and so on that how they chose to transport it and so on. Of course, in Trinidad here, we may have a lot of objections in terms of how things are managed, but of course, in a country with abject poverty and so on, who are struggling so much, it's difficult to force our standards on them. What I ensured, however, once the meat were not distributed the same day, I ensured that they were cold storage. This is one of the probably the best photos in the thing that you all can see. I actually got all those who came from different hospitals and institutions and so on to take a group photo in front of some of the meat at that point in time. So you see in that photo there the persons who represent different hospitals, the home for the aged, the orphanage and so on, all of them who were there at that point in time. That's a group photo with them, inshallah. Very, because some of the photos you would have seen was with individuals, myself and one of them representing a hospital or a health center or what have you. This is a group photo with some of the main players who would have received from institutions. Of course, we also distributed on the streets like you are seeing in this photo here now, but we did not leave out the hospitals and so on, because before I left for Venezuela, I did in fact show that there's so much poverty in Venezuela, and the hospitals are crying out for medication and for protein, for food. People are malnourished, and of course, you know, we ensured that they would have received first, and then we would have gone to the streets, and we would have, not the streets, it was organized. It was organized. We had the people come to a particular location, and we had it distributed. You see in the photos there, women well done in their hijab and so on. Of course, they got a frontline photo. Of course, the Islam in Venezuela needs a lot of refining and so on. But of course, we were not there to judge their Islam. We were there to ensure to reach out to them, inshallah. And of course, it was really an honor. This is another, what I am referring to like a soup kitchen. They call it feeding stations, right? Here it is. This photo was sent to me by them. They were actually cutting up the meat and preparing the meat, basically. Of course, they are the ones who distributing the meat to the food, actually, not meat, food to people. They cook and they feed the people and so on. So they sent me this photo, and of course, some of the cameras, of course, is not what we are accustomed to seeing at IBN here, the kind of quality, but here another soup kitchen here again, they're actually preparing the meat and so on. And this is really, again, what you would have wanted. You want to know that whatever you would have given for Qurbani in Venezuela, it reached the most amount of people possible who are in need. So again, I chose the hospitals, and this is another feeding station again. I'll show you a video how this feeding station actually works. Maybe if we have time today, but of course, again, the feeding stations would have been quite a lot. Another owner of another feeding station, another soup kitchen. They are very hard workers, of course, and of course they send me photos with them receiving the actual meat, and they also send me letters. Every single person who would have received, every institution that would have received meat and so on. I don't know if you can jump forward to some of the actual letters and so on, and come back to the photos. But every single institution that would have received meat, you'll come back to me probably first, and then so inshallah, every single institution that would have received meat, what my condition was basically, I want a letter from the hospital confirming receipt, ensuring that the hospital stamp is there, and I want it signed by the person who's in charge. And I also want, as far as it's practical, from some of them, photos actually of the distribution and so on for the feeding houses and so on, so that you too here can benefit from seeing what exactly confirmation that the meat would have reached reputable organizations like the hospitals and so on. I did in fact show on IBN here a number of hospitals and so on that are in crisis. If you go on YouTube, you will see that up until 4 or 5 days ago, uploads on YouTube, persons are crying out. Again, this program may not have the time to show all these things, but I'll try to show now some letters of receipt, confirmation of receipt. I'll try to remind you all why I chose to go to the hospitals at these places, and then I'll come back again to the photos and continue, inshallah. So let me see now, inshallah. We'll see in a short while, maybe some of the letters of confirmation from all the hospitals and major organizations, Home for the Aged, places that are more in need than others. Persons who are on the road who are trying to survive, that is already crisis. But persons who are sick in hospitals, and the hospitals are saying to BBC, to CNN, to Al Jazeera, that everything is at a standstill because there is no medical supplies in Venezuela, and there is no food to give to the poor and needy in Venezuela, far less for the persons who are in hospitals, who are in the prisons, who are in different places in Venezuela, who are in the home for the aged, who are in persons who are with cerebral palsy, persons who are going through all these challenges. They are worse off than persons who are on the road trying to survive. So very, very important is that I would have tried my best, inshallah, to ensure that the Qurbani meat would have reached as far as an audience as is practical, and I gave priority to those institutions that are taking care of the most vulnerable. The most vulnerable in an organization has to be the ones who have reached crisis state, that they actually hospitalized and they have no hope of getting food for themselves. And the hospitals, of course, are crying their own cry, that they too, and you will see it on YouTube. I don't want to crowd you up with all the same YouTube videos we would have looked at before, although I will still show some today. But the hospitals, it was very, very important to give to the hospitals, to visit them, the health centers to visit them. It was so sad when I see persons pushing old people, running with them to the health centers and hospitals and so on. And when you reach the basic things like the IV and the different things in the medical field that is needed, not available. So I know that Venezuela is in crisis mode. Of course, I have been championing this cause for Venezuela. I know we in Trinidad and Tobago have been championing the cause all over the world. Others have been focusing on Rohingya, and others have been focusing on Guyana, and others are focusing on different parts of the world. Alhamdulillah, for those who contributed their Qurbani to other places, may Allah bless you. For those who contribute to Guyana, and for those who contribute to Bangladesh and Rohingya and India and Pakistan and so on, may Allah reward you, of course, inshallah. Of course, the Venezuela experience was what you are seeing here now. I am giving an account for the Venezuela experience. And I want to again thank all those who would have had the confidence in me, inshallah, and the confidence with us here at the IBN TV8 to ensure that whatever we are duty bound to do, whatever we say we would do, we would have in fact done that, inshallah. So studio, when the letters are ready, I just want to show a confirmation that I got every person, every major institution to prepare a letter. And the doctor guy who you saw in the photo before, I don't know if he drafted it or what he did, but he was able to bring for me, before I leave Venezuela, a number of letters. And those letters I have available now. I can give you a glance at it also. But those letters, I have them with the actual stamp and so on. Right? The letters with the actual stamp and so on. I scan it and the studio will show it shortly. Right? But very, very important is that every single institution with their relevant stamp and official signatures and so on would have prepared letters confirming receipt of their Qurbani and so on, and had the letters stamped. Some of the letters are not maybe first class standard and so on, but it has the official stamp and official signatures and so on. And this is, of course, what is a step higher than what we would have done in the previous years. In the previous years, of course, we did not deal with any formal institution. This year we chose the health center, hospitals and the like, simply because they have thousands of persons who are bedridden, who are in dire need of food. And the hospitals are saying in one video I would have showed previously that because protein is lacking in their diet, a lot of persons are actually suffering with different ailments. And again, I felt that it was a good opportunity for your barakat, your blessing for your Qurbani to multiply by sending that meat to some of these institutions, inshallah. So we did in fact do that, and of course, it was in all generally a very good experience, because you're wanting to do Qurbani in another country. Of course, sometimes we do it all over the world, and of course, persons may not go personally, and they are not able to bring back videos and clippings and so on for you to see exactly what would have happened. Of course, I feel very happy to be able to personally go and personally ensure that everything is done according to the Sharia. The animals are chosen by me, and the zabah process, the slaughtering process is done in the way it is supposed to be done Sharia-wise, and the meat is inspected by the person who is in charge of the inspection. Of course, he gave me his call card. He gave me his call card, the inspector for the meat. He made call card and so on, inshallah. I know you wouldn't be able to see it as clear, but of course, Jose Miguel Villalba Moya, all these Spanish names, very difficult. So I'm saying all the different process would have happened, of course, when we slaughtered the animals and so on. We went late into the night, of course, we hired a cold storage truck. That cold storage truck would have had to have racks and so on. We hung up the animal and so on. And we ensured that we did whatever we could have done to the best way that we could have done it. And of course, we delivered the meat to some people. And some people, as you saw in the previous photos, they would have come at the abattoir by our request for the meat. And those who would have come is the ones who we would have had the photos with. And others who would have organized transport to come and pick up, they would have picked up and dropped off to the different health centers and so on. This guy, the doctor you saw in the photo, Dr. Dohanel, he too, I have his call card here, right? He too would have ensured that the meat would have dropped to every single place and person signed for receiving it. Of course, one of the photos you saw previously there is with myself in the night with him. After a long day in the abattoir, thinking we're going straight home, we were actually following the truck with the meat, dropping off from hospital to hospital to hospital. And of course, that was very, very tiring, because I thought after a long day in the abattoir, we were going home. He said, no, you just need to finish this and then we'll go home. So we went to the health center, and you saw the picture, the emergency here, there and so on. And it's actually night we distributed the meat. He called them, having the person in charge of the cold storage in the hospitals and so on to come back out, open, double check the meat and so on. And he would have done his own means of accounting for the distribution and so on. And he ensured that all these letters and so on, confirming receipt, were in fact done and sent back here for you in Trinidad and Tobago to see. And again, I said, you will see, let's start looking at the photo, the actual letters now, inshallah. Just to get a feel for, you won't see all, we have a whole ton note here, but we'll see some letters now, inshallah, studio. So of course, these are letters confirming from the hospitals. And, unfortunately, for us in Trinidad, the letters are all in Spanish and so on. But you will see the date on top, August 23rd and so on. If you could just zoom in a little bit in the studio, right? You'll see the different dates, and you can keep on showing. There are many. Let's show a few, and then we could go back on to the normal program, inshallah. So these are the actual letters confirming receipt of the meat by individuals, by the individual hospitals, signed by their directors and so on. This letter that you're seeing here is the maternity hospital, and the person signing this letter, he has confirmation of receiving the meat and so on, would have been Dr. Victor Cruz Bont, B-O-N-T-T, at the bottom there. And again, I tried my best to, as far as it's practical, to be as accountable as possible to, in terms of comforting you, the individuals of Trinidad and Tobago, that your meat, your Qurbani would have reached some of the more important places. You see on top there, August 23rd, Eid day was 22nd, of course, and this meat was received on the other day, inshallah. Of course, here it has my signature is at the bottom there, because they not only yes, I am Senior Talim with an M, of course, in Venezuela. They couldn't get that Talib properly, but it's okay, it's still me. So I too had to sign the letter they prepared. I signed at the bottom, they signed, and so on, and they gave it to me, duplicate we signed, and so on. And these are different hospitals actually preparing letters and so on, by my request, of course, as confirmation that they received the meat, and of course their directors must be the person signing, and of course I ensured that the head director would have been the one signing and so on. And of course the letters are well stamped and so on. And all this may not be necessary. Person in Trinidad may not want all of this. But of course, when you take a responsibility on yourself, of course you need to be as far as is practical to ensure that you do things in a transparent way. Of course, this is another hospital again here, receiving the meat again. Of course, it is in Spanish, and a third one again, fourth one, and so on. And there are many hospitals, each one had the responsibility to prepare the letter, have it stamped, have it signed by the highest authorities, so that you, in Trinidad and Tobago, you will be comforted that your Qurbani would have gone to persons who are mostly in need. And again, I'm saying that in the hospitals and so on, the person, see date on this one, 24th of August is the date of this one here. Either the 22nd, this is the 24th of and so on. And of course, for those persons who in Trinidad from Venezuela, they might be able to read this faster than you. But of course, again, I've signed this one also at the bottom here. Acta de donación, a donation, action of donation, I would imagine. I'm guessing some of the Spanish, but of course, this is what I felt was necessary, not only to show photos, because the persons in the hospitals, you wouldn't see photos of the patients eating Qurbani meat. All you can see is that the directors of the hospital prepared a letter confirming that they received, and also having it stamped and so on, to make sure that, of course, at least I can bring back home to you these particular evidence of delivery, inshallah. So, of course, there are many other, I have all in my hands here, many of these letters and so on that I would have received, stamped and so on. And again, all this was done why? Because when, not for any reason other than to give an account to you that yes, I would have gone to Venezuela. Yes, I would have done. One person asked me not to call his name, so I wouldn't. He says, so Imam, how you going in Venezuela? And so I say, well, you know, how the expense works and so on to go Venezuela. I tell him I try my best to foot my own expense and so on. And he said, listen to me. I want you to allow me to cover all your airline expense and this and that and the other. And what would I say to him now? No, I don't want, no. So again, I want to thank him publicly. Of course, I know he's looking on and so on. And I also want to thank publicly those business people who would have, they normally give here the IBN and so on, and they were willing to give more than just their Qurbani share. And again, I want to give a special shout out to Sheikh Lisha. Again, he always in the forefront of terms of making donations. I hope he don't vex me saying this, but of course, he didn't ask for any recognition. And again, I never know plastic bag was so heavy. Right? 1,000 plastic bags sounds like little thin plastics that has no weight. But you'll be surprised to see how heavy these are to carry and so on. But again, really thank you very much to so many people who would have made that Qurbani in Venezuela a success. So today, if we could go back to some of the photos here, inshallah. Of course, these are some of the food prepared. Persons actually sent me some of the photos of the actual food. And we did, in fact, carry up with us rice and flour and different things. Because, you know, we too wanted to have food cooked and prepared and so on. Of course, this looks like this is black bean and rice, and I don't know how they prepare, what they prepare there. because they send me these photos, right? And of course, this one here is they feed in houses. This is what they do. They prepare the meals and so on, and then they actually sent us some photos before the distribution and so on. So again, all this is just for your viewing, inshallah, that your Qurbani meat, the poor and needy, would have reached them. A number of persons would have benefited. And of course, there's so much more that we can do. Of course, I too, when I was eating in Venezuela, I received some food, was rice and meat. And I was waiting to see when the peas was coming, you know. Because in Trinidad, very rare you'll see us eating rice and meat. Venezuela, of course, this was one of our meals. This is not my meal. I'm saying one of the meals I had there was rice and meat. Me and my partner, Abdullah, when we were waiting for the peas was fine coming. So, of course, this picture, if you could hold this picture for a while, inshallah, this is the mayor for one of the cities in Venezuela. With all the people gathering and collecting meat and so on, he had to brave the waters and come and meet with us. Of course, he came and he asked us what we doing in Venezuela and how, and we had to explain to him the Islamic, through our translators, of course, explain to him about Islam and Prophet Ibrahim and the sacrifice and persons going to Hajj, and we went on to give him a nice explanation and so on. He was very, very happy what we were doing in his particular area. He's of course a politician, and we tried to avoid the politics in a social event. Of course, he offered us to export from Venezuela cocoa and offered to export from Venezuela plantain, and under his stewardship, because Venezuela, in all its poverty, there's a number of things that we can formally export through the formal shipping means and so on, officially from Venezuela, through the highest office holders to trade. And he came to me, we sat and we discussed, and he wants to he asked me to give consideration to helping the Venezuela economy by trying to be importing some of the products they have in excess. Fish is a big product across there in excess. Plantain and cocoa and lime and a number of different things. Of course, I am not really into deep business. I work at T&Tech, for those of you who don't know. I really, if persons maybe can assist the Venezuela economy by purchasing maybe in bulk some of these items, of course, I'll be only too happy to put the arrangements in place, inshallah. So this is the mayor for one of the areas. I have his name and so on written here, who says something, right? And we have another picture, another mayor. This is the other mayor here. This is another mayor closer to the abattoir. And this is a photo inside of the abattoir. This mayor here, just like in Trinidad and Tobago, they are mayor for different parts of the country. The abattoir was a totally different part of the country to where this distribution process was taking place. This guy came in and with the whole contingent, they have on a cap with a Maduro cap and so on. And he wanted to find out what really going on. Look at people outside here, all this meat sharing out. They want to know what is going on. So I told him in short, through my translator, of course, again, that, if free to take a few passes and share, because he's slowing down the process by asking all these questions and so on. So he came not in the most friendly way first, because he is in charge and he don't know what is going on. And of course, I showed him letters where I would have written from Trinidad and Tobago, asking that when I come to Venezuela to make it easy through the immigration and through the different processes and so on. He was happy to see the letter and so on, and then he wanted a little photo with me too. So you see, I ended up with a photo through my phone. And of course, the woman who's with him, I don't know her name either, but he's the mayor for Casanay, another part of Venezuela, inshallah. And again, this was really, really a nice experience. Of course, I came back from Venezuela this year with so much of maybe contacts and so much of different, people in Venezuela asking me how they could work in Trinidad, how they could come to Trinidad, what I can do for them to come in Trinidad. And that seemed to be the call, because there are doctors and lawyers and so on. One woman who's a lawyer, she said to me, if it is, she can come to, she teaches right now. She's a lawyer. She hardly gets any legal work and so on. And she don't mind coming to Trinidad to work as some washing dish or seeing about houses and domestic work and so on. And it touches me, because when I ask the question how much money they work for a month in US dollars, because I want to understand the amount in US dollars. it comes down between $20 US and $40 US a month. And this is really, they're unable to do justice. I'm talking about senior jobs, professional jobs working for 40 US a month. So when you hear these kind of prices, costs, I can only work out in US to understand. I cannot understand it in bolivars because it's millions of bolivars they're working for. But one US is about 6 million bolivars. So 100 US is like 600 million. And these Venezuelans, one thing I can say about them, they must be very good in maths. The amount of millions of bolivars for everything, they must be extremely good in maths because some of the prices may not be rounded off, might be 650,000 bolivars for a kilo of plantain or wherever it is. And they want 2.5 pounds, and they have to work out that by 2 and so on. And I'm saying everything in the groceries and wherever on the road and so on is, everything is in millions of dollars, millions of bolivars. So again, when you divide the figure by 6 million to find out US, you get in figures like 40 US something per month. Of course, we thank Allah again that we are here and we can be the giving hand rather than the receiving hand. Allah has protected us in Trinidad and Tobago from being the ones who other countries have to come here and look to give us hampers and so on. And this is something we should not take for granted. And again, we here at the IBN TV8, we have been consistent in trying our best to play that particular role in reaching out to the number of individuals. We are not alone. IBN is not alone. There are a number of persons in Trinidad and Tobago who do charitable work. I am here just to account for my own mandate. I took a responsibility on myself. Nobody asked me to go. I volunteered to go. I took a decision once I'm not going to Hajj. I am going to, inshallah, go to Venezuela or wherever else in that window of time and try to get maximum blessings the same way as though I go to Hajj. And inshallah, if you give me the opportunity to represent you, like you did this year, of course, the cost of the process is very high because you have to pay for cold storage, you have to pay for security, you have to pay for accommodation, you have to pay for a number of things. But this is what we want to do. We want to do practical Islamic work, and of course, I pray to Allah that you will not be disappointed. Of course, studio, if you can show any more photos, we can finish develop the program. I know time is against us, inshallah. Or if one of the videos are available, inshallah, I can just remind the people why the hospitals were so necessary to visit. So one of the two you can show, I have a video ready. We can show a small clipping, a little 3-4 minutes video, just to remind the viewing audience why it was so important to send the Qurbani meat in some cases to the hospitals, and then we can go back and show in the last few minutes of the program maybe some of the recipients on the streets and so on, how well they received the Qurbani and so on. So when you're ready, studio, let me know. But this was the experience in Venezuela. Again, I said there are many things we can talk about, but of course, time wouldn't permit for all of that. So we show a small video now, just to remind you as to why we felt it necessary to go to Venezuela and do what we did, inshallah. Studio.
Like any mother, Lucero Rodriguez is anxious to be with her son in intensive care. You can see it, how her touch so comforts Dylan. And yet this mother says it's agony knowing there is much more he needs that she can't give him.
At this point, things are getting worse and worse. We can't get medical supplies for the baby. We can't even find the formula he needs to grow. Now we're making sacrifices. I've been in this hospital for 15 days and I've witnessed how children are dying every day.
And doctors tell us that's a real risk for Dylan. He has cystic fibrosis. It damages the lungs and digestive system. Right now, the medical team works hard to expunge dangerous mucus. But here in Venezuela, Dylan can't get the antibiotics or any of the other specialized medicine he needs to help him survive. But Dylan's not alone, Dr. Uniatis Urbina says, standing by his side. 70 to 80% of the medicines children need in Venezuela haven't arrived at Caracas's pediatric hospital or anywhere else for months. Even cancer patients are left untreated.
The sad truth is pediatric oncology has been completely shut down in this hospital. Chemo is being done here, but the doctors tell us that the medicines are still completely inadequate.
6-year-old Gustavo has leukemia, but instead of intensive therapy, his is sporadic. His mother, Gabriela Mota, worries about when he'll have his next chemo treatment, having already seen 4 children die without it.
Inside Venezuela, it's a losing battle to save those who become ill. The country's crumbling health service has all but fallen. Here, the patients are stacked up in corners, knowing the odds are they won't leave here anytime soon. And many won't make it out at all. One of the few medics still working tells us they're only taking emergency cases, and everyone has to buy their own medicines, bandages, even gloves. And Gloria can't afford them. She says she needs a metal pin for her broken leg. But with no supplies, she faces a long wait.
And they're using water bottles to keep the weight to try and keep the traction.
Gloria's in terrible pain, wincing continuously.
When do you think she will be able to have the surgery?
Como un mes más o menos, mes y medio.
About a month, a month and a half.
She'll have to wait a month.
Tendrá que esperar
A veces más.
para poder operarla.
Maybe 2 months.
Maybe 2 months
Whoa.
or 3 months.
Or 3 months. Wow.
Esto es una tortura china, estar uno así inmóvil.
It's Chinese torture to be here like that.
They have to care for their own relatives because there aren't enough nurses.
Many of the medics have given up because they can't survive on the minimum wage they're being paid. Those still here are doing it for virtually nothing.
Everything here is so sad. I can not help them because they need help. There is nobody here. They're so
Helpless?
see, yes, and they need our help.
The hyperinflation in the country has virtually bankrupted the hospital. They struggle to buy light bulbs, and parts of the building have had to be boarded up.
Oh, they've had to completely close it? Because you had no supplies?
Porque no hay personal.
This is in an opposition-controlled area, dependent on funding from the central government. But without money for medics or supplies, it's unusable.
Alhamdulillah, so
Dr.
I can show many more of these videos, and why I show these is because international media like CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera and the likes, they are the ones who are going into Venezuela, and they are the ones who are showing its coverage as early as recent as 2 or 3 days ago. This one is 5 days old. When these things are happening outside there, it's not like I am going to Venezuela and I am coming back with a story. These are international organizations confirming what I am also saying. In that, I heard that the patients there in the hospitals, they have to pay for their own medicine because the hospitals don't have the medication. They have to pay for gloves, and they have to pay for a number of different things. When you look at in the same video we looked at, these doctors are actually saying that it's no longer about the money because they work for less money than a doctor should work for. It's about the passion and the love for their profession, their duty to care for people and so on. If these are the conditions under which they work, of course, we sending whatever to Venezuela, Qurbani, meat and so on, what we have done there is just a little, alhamdulillah, the rewards for what we would have done is great. We are seeing again, and some of these photos here, some of the people who actually benefited from the Qurbani and so on. This here is another video. This is not our process, this is another video where these families are actually talking about their experience. The groceries are empty. This is not my clipping. This is not what I brought back. This is another video showing the shelves are empty and persons are actually working in soup kitchens. And the reason why they work in the soup kitchens is because when they're cooking food, the likelihood of they will get something to eat during the day is real. And the payment for persons right now is basically food to eat. So let me take in a small piece of this also, inshallah.
Conditions, the conditions of poverty in which they are living. Most of them live in poor communities and are at risk of malnutrition, anemia, and growth problems.
The country's deep economic crisis has led many Venezuelans to rummage in trash cans to feed themselves. The Venezuelan government has implemented a food distribution plan, but for many people, that's simply not enough. Marta Tejada lives with her 4 unemployed daughters and 13 grandchildren. She says she can only afford to send 4 of her grandchildren to school, and enrollment is a requirement to benefit from the food program offered by Alimenta. The rest of Marta's family struggles to find food to eat at least once a day.
Today I went out all day looking to buy rice, pasta, or corn flour, and the only thing I found was toothpaste. We cannot eat that, sadly. When that happens, we just drink water the whole day because I cannot feed my family toothpaste.
Marta says she can only pray for better days to come for Venezuela. Dates when her family will not need to worry how they'll find their next meal, and when her grandchildren can grow strong and healthy. Juan Carlos Lamas, TRT World, Caracas.
So of course, this is a very tearful thing in Venezuela. For those who are looking at it for the first time, of course, Venezuela is tearful, and what is even more tearful is the fact that they are next door to us. I am saying to you, if a Venezuelan person slips out of Venezuela and find themselves in Trinidad here, the likelihood of they just voluntarily going back to that condition is rare. When you walk into our groceries and so on, what we see in our groceries are free for all. Buy whatever you want once you can afford it, once you can pay for it. In Venezuela, you don't have the luxury to pick up whatever you want. Just imagine Venezuela is in total crisis. And again, I'm not here to sell back that story again. That story has already been sold previous to now. The only reason I showed those videos again, just to remind you all that the condition in Venezuela is tough. The poor people who need to get maybe the best people to share the meat and share the food and share everything is those who are already into the business of sharing and caring. There are genuine people in Venezuela who are doing humanitarian work. And again, most of them seem to be Christian organizations, not Islamic organizations. The Islamic organizations who I would have met, I've met a number of Islamic organizations. And again, we may need to encourage the Muslims to maybe extend their hands much more in Venezuela. The Muslims in Venezuela may need to extend their hands much more in Venezuela to do more than they currently do. As again I said, the topic of mangoes and so on, mangoes seem to be like a savior in Venezuela. Because when there is nothing else to eat, the mangoes that are available in the country from the public trees that probably has no owner, this seems to be another great relief for persons who are hungry. Again, Venezuela is in fact tearful, and I want to thank all those who would have had the confidence to do their Qurbani in Venezuela. Of course, what you all would have seen there, it is not something that we are looking for any praise for. Myself and my brother who would have gone, Brother Abdullah, we would have done this with the help of Venezuelans who we know. They would have met us from day one, organized security for us, and they would have taken care of us until we return. And I want to thank publicly my sister Luz Miller and Brother Paul, who would have been two of the names who would have helped tremendously in Venezuela. And then we would have had Dr. Dohanel and others who would have done yeoman service to us. Sister Ildeneria, she also very, very, very much key players and so on. And so much persons who would have been dear to us, Chunchu and all the big names in Venezuela who would have drive us out to the farm. And of course, the taxi in Venezuela is not like the taxi in Trinidad. It's back a van and so on. And you're paying 20,000 bolivars for a drop. Small money in TT dollars. I don't even know the amount in TT. But of course, I'm sure it's less than $1. But of course, we would have been taken care of. I know persons were very worried about me. I got a number of WhatsApp because there are times I have WhatsApp with regards to the earthquake in Venezuela. Again, our program is just 55 minutes really, so I don't want to talk about the earthquake in no detail, but alhamdulillah, everything went in Venezuela to plan. This year probably would have been the most successful out of the 3 years because of the experience we would have gained as to how best to execute this event. Of course, the persons in the abattoir, I didn't get a chance to show the abattoir, all the guys in the abattoir posing with the axe and the cutlass and so on. There are many other photos I have which I couldn't show all today. Maybe in another program we may do a second program on the Venezuela experience. There are many letters we would have sent out which you all would not have gotten to see, and also the people in Venezuela, they make their own envelope funding for us. The big professionals, I want to also make a call before time runs out on me. There's a Trinidad doctor here whose father is from Venezuela and mother from Venezuela. Father is Trinidadian and mother is Venezuelan. She would have qualified as a doctor in Venezuela. She born in Venezuela. Her ID card, Trinidad ID card has country of birth Venezuela. She's working in a small store in Trinidad and Tobago here, unable to practice medicine in Trinidad. And it's a challenge for her to maybe come off the ground and just to get in the medical field. Although she's a Trinidad, well, she's born in Venezuela, but she's a Trinidad citizen. Her father is Trinidadian, and she lives in Trinidad. She came back from Venezuela to Trinidad. She has her Trinidad passport, Trinidad ID card, and so on. All her certificates of qualification is in Venezuela. And it seems as though while we are focusing on bringing and helping others, professionals from Cuba and the likes, somebody needs to assist in championing that Venezuela cause, because I'm saying that there are dentists, doctors, lawyers, a number of different professions. Maybe all the students in Trinidad and Tobago who are doing Spanish for CXC, maybe we can bring some Venezuelan qualified persons to come in our schools and they could talk no English, better yet for our children. Talk and let us learn Spanish conversational. I did Spanish in school for 5 years. And when I told the teacher in Venezuela who teaches English, he was saying to me the reason why, when I spoke to him, he concluded by saying the reason why we are unable to speak Spanish fluently is because we learn Spanish too formal. We should learn Spanish like a little baby growing up. Just talk. And then we will correct the verbs and correct the nouns and adjectives and pronouns and so on after. We started learning the hard Spanish too early probably. And we were able only to maybe write something in Spanish, unable to speak. For those days I stayed in Venezuela, the amount of Spanish I was able to practice because I had no choice. Because they don't speak English. So therefore, for you to converse with them, you have to plenty sign language. Sign language for foot, for hand, for mouth, for different things. You have to practice sign language and they get the words right and we play around with the English until our translator arrives and so on. All I'm saying, there must be some great opportunities for us to be able to assist the Venezuelans. They are next door to us. If it is that they find themselves here, we should not give them any disrespect. We should understand that they are going through challenging times and so on. And so far, I have heard only good things about the Trinidadians, how they have been dealing with the Venezuelans, inshallah. Of course, I pray to Allah with full sincerity that all that we are doing here at the IBN, Allah's blessings will be on it. Of course, I pray to Allah will be accountable to you and you will be comfortable with our accounting, inshallah. And there are much more things that we have to show here for the Venezuela experience. Much more things we could have spoken about. But of course, time is against us now and we have to wrap up, inshallah. So again, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the persons, the people who would have done their Qurbani in Venezuela. May Allah bless all those who would have participated in Venezuela who are not Muslims with hidayat, inshallah. May Allah give them hidayat. May Allah give more and more people hidayat, inshallah, that they can establish Islam in Venezuela. They were so warm and receptive to us. Maybe it's because we are there bringing goods, we are bringing relief. But the best time to give persons dawah is when you are able to give something to them. And I had a translator who was translating my dawah to them and so on. And of course, those clippings maybe we show it another time because it's quite lengthy. I did give the Eid Khutbah in Venezuela, and then the translator, after I concluded, I brought a translator up and explained all that I said in the Khutbah and so on, inshallah. All these things, it is excellent experience in Venezuela. Only sad thing is that, you know, these little small phones that we have may not have the cleanest photos and so on, like we would have accustomed to IBN's quality. But inshallah, by next week, inshallah, we'll probably, next week I have a special program coming on, but of course, later on we'll have maybe a second part 2 of the Venezuela experience, inshallah. So look out for the rerun of this program on Wednesday, and next week look out for a special program I will be hosting next week, inshallah. So until next week, inshallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu.
Let me hear you sing. Got to have my Viva, water but so much better. Got to have my Viva, water but so much better.
Viva sparkling flavored water, water but better.
آپ ہی کے جلووں سے ہر طرف اجالا ہے، ظلمتوں سے انسان کو آپ نے نکالا ہے. آپ ہی کے جلووں سے ہر طرف اجالا ہے، ظلمتوں سے انسان کو آپ نے نکالا ہے. جالیوں سے روزے کی چاندنی سی چھنتی ہے، جالیوں سے روزے کی چاندنی سی چھنتی ہے. اس کا نور کیا ہوگا، نور جس کا حالا ہے. اس کا نور کیا ہوگا، نور جس کا حالا ہے. آپ ہی کے جلووں سے ہر طرف